Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope you're keeping well. Hope you enjoyed the recent episode. That was the one where I took a look at England's youngest players over the years. The likes of Wayne Rooney, Theo Walcott. There's a few others too. It is still available at your podcast provider of choice or threelionspodcast.com. Busy show this one, so let's crack on. Although I will say now, apologies for my voice. It is a little croaky. Has been worse than this. I've been on the Lemsips. Now, it is Thomas Tuchel's fourth squad. It's England's penultimate qualifying window in our quest to reach the 2026 World Cup in Canada, USA and Mexico. This window, we face Wales in a friendly on Thursday the 9th, then travel to Riga in Latvia for the very first time on Tuesday the 14th. That is in Group K. Let's just refresh ourselves with how Group K currently looks. We are top with a 100% record. 5 wins out of 5, scored 13, conceded none. The only goals conceded under Thomas Tuchel were those ones against Senegal at the City Ground in Nottingham. We have a maximum of 15 points. The only time England have gone through a World Cup qualification campaign without conceding was for Italia 90. And believe it or not, we finished second in that qualification group. But behind us are Albania with 8 points, 2 wins, 2 draws and a defeat. Serbia are in third place, but they are the only team to have played 4 games. They're on 7 points, 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat. Latvia are fourth, 4 points, 1 win, 1 draw and 3 defeats. And propping everyone up are Andorra. Played 5, lost 5. And in their defence, they've not conceded too many. 10 goals in 5 games. You do the maths. Now this window, as I mentioned, sees us play Latvia. This is after Latvia have hosted Andorra and Serbia host Albania, which in itself is a potential ticking time bomb. Perhaps not that dramatic, but you know what I mean. It certainly has a lot of history behind it. The game will be played down in the south of Serbia in Lešković with a reduced capacity. Now this comes after Serbia were fined 80,000 Swiss francs. That's about £74,500. This fine, of course, from UEFA following their game with us, where the Serbians failed to control their crowd. It was also the fine for the use of lasers, disruption of our national anthem, and also the discrimination heard from the Serbian crowd. Now, I believe if results go our way, we can qualify this window and join the 15 who are already qualified. And that's not including the 3 hosts. So there will probably be a large amount who need to check their passports are in date over the next few weeks. Because remember, 48 teams participating in next year's World Cup. And I'm sure you've seen and heard the recent announcements from FIFA about the cost of this upcoming tournament, the tickets for it. It may have made you rethink your plans for next year. But perhaps in the near future, I'll take a little bit more of a look at that. Now, before we talk Wales and Latvia, on Friday the 3rd, Thomas Tuchel announced his latest squad. So let's take a look at it. I have it here. It is a 24-player squad, 3 goalkeepers, Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford, James Trafford. 8 defenders, Dan Burn, Mike Gay, Reece James, Ezri Konsa, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Jarell Quansah, Jed Spence and John Stones. 6 in midfield, Elliot Anderson, Morgan Gibbs-White, Jordan Henderson, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Declan Rice and Morgan Rogers. And 7 forwards: Jared Bowen, Eberichi Eze, Anthony Gordon, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka and Ollie Watkins. Now there are 4 from Arsenal, 3 from Aston Villa, 2 from Crystal Palace, Manchester City and Newcastle United and Nottingham Forest. And there is 1 from Everton, Chelsea, Spurs, Brentford, West Ham, Bayer Leverkusen, AC Milan, Bayern Munich and Barcelona. It's a squad with an average age of 26.6. The youngest player in it is Miles Lewis-Skelly, and the oldest is Jordan Henderson. A squad with 690 caps across it. 78 in favour of Jordan Pickford, 83 for John Stones, 85 for Jordan Henderson, and of course Harry Kane, 109. Goals across the squad, 128. 74 of those, well, they belong to Harry Kane. Will he add to that tally in these next 2 games? You're likely to say yes, of course, wouldn't you? There are 2 players still uncapped within the squad, James Trafford and Jarell Quansah. Jarell Quansah of Bayer Leverkusen, I guess if he comes on, will be the first England player to be currently playing with Bayer Leverkusen, I guess. And I think there are 4 players who are not playing European football this season. Jordan Pickford at Everton, Jordan Henderson at Brentford, Ruben Loftus-Cheek at AC Milan, and Jared Bowen of West Ham United. It's hard to believe AC Milan aren't in Europe. Always seem to be a regular in European competitions were Milan, but not this year. Not this year. Now it's a squad with no Jude Bellingham, no Phil Foden, no Jack Grealish. Incidentally, Bellingham, it was announced, won the England Player of the Year for 24-25. I'll be honest, I don't remember having the opportunity to vote. I assume it was done through the England Supporters Club. But it was a season that saw 10 games for England, in which Bellingham played 8, scored 1, picked up 3 yellow cards and was substituted in 3 of them. Declan Rice and Harry Kane were 2nd and 3rd respectively. Jude Bellingham coming back from a shoulder injury, but did get, I think it was 10 or so minutes for Real Madrid in their recent game. Thomas Tuchel asked about not picking them. He said he was quite happy with the squad that he selected for the recent games against Andorra and Serbia. And I believe that last squad in September, the only changes is Quansah for Livramento, Loftus-Cheek for Wharton, and Bukayo Saka for Noni Madueke. Of course, Tino Livramento, Noni Madueke and Cole Palmer are all out injured. And just when I thought we were going into the week injury-free, on Monday, Chelsea captain Reece James pulled out of the squad following Chelsea's win over Liverpool at the weekend. And whilst he didn't come off during the game, he later posted on his Instagram account a photo of a gash on his shin, and then later was ruled out following medical assessments, in inverted commas, by, you would assume, Chelsea, and in turn they've put pressure on England. I've got to say, if that's what he's pulled out over, I wonder what players have come to. I know about wrapping them up in cotton wool, but it's hardly a gaping wound. It's a little more than a scratch, but come on. Bit of TCP over it, bit of Sudocrem, a plaster. Man up. My daughter has come home from school with worse and gone back the following day. But anyway, James is out, and it's a shame, as he had a prolonged period of time out during last year, 2024. I think he had a hamstring injury, and now it's kind of left us in a position where we could be light. Well, we are light in the right back position. Jed Spence, who made his debut against Serbia last month, is in the squad, so you'd imagine that he's going to be the one to play against Wales and Latvia. But replacing James Thomas Tuchel has brought in Manchester City's Nico O'Reilly, promoted from the under-21s. Now, I have to be honest, I've not really taken much notice of him. But it appears he's been doing well there. A little bit of research on my behalf, 9 games this season. Clearly trusted by Guardiola. He scored 5 times last season, but has been mainly employed as a left-back. So, well, you'd assume he can go right if need be, but you would assume that Jed Spence, as I say, will be used against both Wales and Latvia. Now, usually I'd be speaking with a Welsh correspondent, and I had 2 lined up, but both unfortunately let me down, which is a shame. I wanted to release this podcast on the Tuesday, as not only do I have a couple of things I need to do on a personal note, sort of Wednesday, and sort of make sure this was recorded and ready to go out, but I wanted it out in advance of the Wales game. Logical, huh? Yeah. So I'm going to have to give you my own take on Wales, which unfortunately isn't going to be as comprehensive as it could have been, should have been, which is a shame. So here we go.
Into Vardy, Ali, it'll come back for Sturridge, will it? He's in! The 2 substitutes have turned it around for England. And is that where their tournament turns round? Daniel Sturridge's first international goal since Manaus against Italy 2 years ago has surely forced England's first win of the tournament and take them to the top of the group.
It's a Manchester United man to strike, however you look at it. And it is Rashford! And it is absolutely magnificent. What a strike from Marcus Rashford. Nothing Danny Ward could do. Right into the corner. He is back enjoying his football again. Marcus Rashford, MBE.
England face Wales at Wembley Thursday the 9th of October. Kickoff is 7:45. Now this is a friendly, but Wales, they are in, of course, World Cup action. They're in Group J. Currently they are 3rd behind North Macedonia and Belgium, but they are ahead of Kazakhstan and Liechtenstein. They've played 5, won 3, drawn 1, lost 1. In charge of Wales is Craig Bellamy, formerly of Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester City, amongst others. He's one of those players that, it's like Tiger Woods, as the phrase is, has so many clubs. Now, he became manager in 2024, but as a player, he had 78 caps and scored 19 goals. Now, this will be his 13th game in charge, and by all accounts, it started quite well. He went 9 games unbeaten, which I believe was a record. Although recently, their last game, they lost 1-0 at home to Canada. Now, the record versus England, of course, it's in our favour, isn't it? It's one of the, up there with Scotland, one of the most played international fixtures. There's been 104 between the two. This game on the 9th will be the 105th. Wales, well, they've won just 14. England have won 69. And there have been 21 draws. Now, we last met during the Qatar World Cup in 2022. England winning by 3-0. You remember that one? Marcus Rashford with 2 and Phil Foden with 1 goal. Now, the last Wales victory was in 1984. That was in Wrexham when they won 1-0. Now, the last time Wales beat England at Wembley was in 1977, where again the score was 1-0. Of course, the Welsh squad, there's plenty of Premier League players. There's a lot of Championship players as well. Carl Darlow in goal at Leeds United. Tom King is behind Jordan Pickford at Everton. Defenders, Ben Davies at Tottenham. Who else we got? Neco Williams at Forest is in defence. Into the midfield, Harry Wilson at Fulham. There was a lot of talk about Aaron Ramsey being drafted back in to the Welsh squad. I wasn't aware that Aaron Ramsey was actually playing now in Mexico, plays for Pumas. So they drafted him in, and then he's injured, so he's not going to be part of the game against England. Of course, Aaron Ramsey, formerly of Arsenal. And then up front, they've got the likes of Luis Kumas, is at Birmingham City on loan from Liverpool. Daniel James is at Leeds. And Brennan Johnson, who's been scoring a few goals at Tottenham. There are, of course, a few players that play for those Welsh teams. Dylan Lawler of Cardiff City. Joe Colwell, also of Cardiff City. Kiefer Moore at Wrexham. Liam Cullen of Swansea City. They are some of the players that are playing at home, as it were. But there's no one from the likes of the New Saints or Barry or Carnarvon Town. There's no one from there, unfortunately, in the Welsh League. I wonder, actually, should we be calling them Cymru? England against Cymru or England against Wales? Anyway, that's my preview for the Wales game. I think we'll win. That's my prediction. Pure and simple. We'll win. Hopefully, we'll win by a few clear goals. Right, following Wales, we play Latvia. England travelled to Latvia for the first time on Tuesday, the 14th of October. It is the reverse fixture between the two sides when they first met at Wembley in March. That's a game England won 3-0, thanks to goals from Reece James, Harry Kane and Eberici Eze with his first England goal when he was a Crystal Palace player. Let's find out a little bit more about Latvia. Delighted to welcome from the Baltic Football Podcast, Frank Murr to the show. Frank, hello there.
Hello, how's it all going?
Very well, thank you. You're from the, as the name suggests, the Baltic Football Podcast, a show that looks at the Baltic sides, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania.
Yeah, so we've got a podcast, and we also have www.balticfootballnews.com, which is the most extensive football website that covers anything to do with Baltic football, inside the Baltics, all three countries, and outside. So yeah, we've got a really good team, and we've covered a lot of football this season, as you can imagine. But fortunately, there's 10 teams per league in the Lithuania, Estonian, and Latvian leagues. So looking at sort of 30 league team basically, but obviously split into 3 leagues. So yeah, it's an interesting area for football.
Right. Well, we'll learn a little bit more about it as we go along. But you're in a prime position to tell us about Latvia, because we're speaking to you from Riga, yes?
Yeah, I'm based in Riga. I've been in Riga for 5 years. I've got a couple of business interests in Riga, so it's a good city to work, and it really offers a great balance of life here. It's a capital city, plenty of good culture, lots of sports going on. They've just hosted the FIBA basketball, the European Championship, which was great, a bit off football, but then you got the football's so accessible here. Skonto Stadium, classic stadium where Riga FC play. I live right next to there. Lots of history, plenty of culture, endless amounts of live music. So yeah, it's a great city, and if you like a beer, Latvians love a beer, and there's so much to choose from.
I'm gutted I'm not going. You're like teasing me now with what it's like, and throw the beer in at the end there. Go on, tell us the beer of choice.
Oh God, the beer of choice. Well, there's a nice brewery called Bauskas. They do a nice Sencha beer, which is about I like a 4%, but the beers get very strong here. They like They kind of average a 5%. But there's a brewery, Labitas, I think. They do a beer called English Bitter, so I get a bit nostalgic and like that. But there's so many different ones to try and so many different varieties. It's difficult to have a favourite, I guess. But I mean, the Welsh fans turned up here and didn't really want to leave. They sort of had a 4-day holiday last time they turned up, and yeah, they ran out of Guinness apparently in Riga's Old Town, and they sort of drank the city a little bit dry, but they never ran out of beer in Riga.
Oh, there's a challenge. It sounds like. So we're talking on, what are we today? Saturday morning, the 4th. The last night, I believe the Latvian squad was announced. Is there any players in particular that need to look out for or that you highly rate?
Well, it's a difficult one. They've got some decent players playing at international clubs, but when you look at it from a English journalist perspective, and you look at British teams in playing in European competitions, if I was in the UK, I'd look and say, nah, they're not. No, none of them are really good players, super good clubs. They've got Siganeeks, who's playing in Switzerland, and the main captain Tobers is unfortunately injured. He plays for Aberdeen. There's a youth coming up from. He was formerly at Parma. Now he's gone to the Atletico youth team. But Dario Seitz is quite a decent player as well. But I wouldn't say there's a particular threat. They're a difficult team to break down more than they have individual players, and I think that's the current problem in the team, that they're lacking a player that can really make that one difference to go on attack or do something special. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking at players that are threatening, RFS did very well in the Europa League. So they've got Yanis Ikauniaks, one of their he's an attacking midfielder, striker. He can be threatening, but he doesn't really turn up too much for the national team. Then there's Gudkovikis. I get minced on my pronunciation. But he's playing in South Korea in the K League for Daejeon Citizens as well. But yeah, no players that they would be too fearful of, I don't think.
Okay. I mean, when the group was announced, and the draw and who was going to be playing who, what was the general sort of feeling for Latvia? Because I'm guessing it was always going to be a little bit tough. Because with the greatest respect, fighting for potential second place and playoff. What was the reaction to the game against England?
I think it was a special moment in Latvian football.
Yeah.
Because they'd never played England before and they'd never taken a trip to Wembley, so it was more of a significantly historic moment. I mean, this is a team that came out of a country that came out of the Iron Curtain. They were occupied pretty much by the USSR or the Russians, which pre World War II, the Germans and the Russians split the area, and the Russians invaded the Baltics. So there's a deep history of they're still trying to develop history and build their identity, and the England game was just a significant moment along that journey, more than anything. So I think they didn't really expect much of a result, but it was more about the moment than anything. Yeah. That was the most important thing.
Just actually something that I thought of, and it's totally unfootball related, but I've got a feeling when I went to Lithuania, went to a museum of sorts there, and there was an instance with the Baltic countries, and I'm trying to remember, it may have been when they split from the USSR, where every person within those Baltic countries hold hands between all three countries?
So it was I think it was just the peaceful, the silent movement, or the peaceful protest where the entire three Baltic countries from the border of Estonia and Russia, all the way through Estonia to the border of Latvia to the border of Lithuania and then obviously to Poland, the entire population, well, as many people went along the longest highway and formed a human chain holding hands.
That was it.
It's an incredible distance. To protest against occupation and for freedom of independence.
Yeah, it just came into my mind there. It's if you don't know about it, it's well worth a Google just to see the images. There's like a sort of pictures from high up as they were able to do at the time, just to see this human chain as you mentioned.
Yeah, it's called the Baltic Way, and about 2 million people joined the hands, spanning about 419 miles. You can't imagine that in this day and age.
No.
419-mile, 2 million people protest. It was an incredible thing. But I mean, that's how passionate they were about it. It's a very challenging history in the past. So yeah, when teams like England turn up, then it's that sense of national pride that they're now in this place of freedom to be able to play these incredible teams.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, when England come to town and England fans follow, tell us a little bit about Riga. What would you places to see, eat, see, and do? What would you recommend?
Well, I think because of everything going on in the world of geopolitics right now, and the invasion of Ukraine and everything, and Brits might see it from a different perspective, whereas the Baltic states are a little bit more hawkish to this history of Russian invasion. I think going to the Occupation Museum is quite an important one to realise, what has happened in history and what is going on in geopolitics. Then you've got some nice galleries. I think it's important to get out of Riga a little bit as well. This is a forested country. They're an ancient people of who last pagans of Europe. And there's the woodlands and forests are a really important aspect, and they've got beautiful trees. And England fans will be arriving in autumn, so the landscapes outside Riga are quite phenomenal. Right. If you look at the average surname, the most common surname is either Birch or Oak.
Oh, so right.
That describes the connection. Yeah. So try and do the cultural thing. Look at the history. Look at what's outside Riga, but inside Riga. Old Town is obviously special. It's a medieval sort of port town, and it's sort of become a huge place for tourists. And there's a lot of great bars, lots of incredible bars going on there. So I try and get a bit of culture, history, understand the country for what it is. It's similar size to Switzerland, Denmark, but with 1.8 million people. So it's got less people per square mile than America. So it's sparsely populated. So
Gotcha.
That's quite unique. And the lakes and the rivers are incredible. The Daugava River, it's got 3-4 hydroelectric power plants. It's a huge river. So that's quite. It's an interesting river, and 50% of their energy is powered by hydro. But otherwise, go to some drinking holes, and just check out Old Town, and have a good time in Old Town. Really, the most important thing is really respect the freedom of monument statue. That's kind of survived occupations, and that they kind of worship that as it's a very sacred monument to Latvian people. And
whereabouts is that, and what does that look like?
So that's just next to the city. It's pretty much in Old Town. You can't really miss it. So if you're coming from Elizabeth or along this area, you've got the whole entire chain of parks that kind of wrap around the Old Town, and there's a beautiful canal, and you'll see it just in the middle. It's a woman holding up three stars. Which represent the three regions of Latvia, I believe.
Right.
That's beautiful. But in the past, there's been a couple of football fans who've gotten in a lot of trouble, even arrests and so on, for not quite respecting that. But I think get into Old Town and have a couple of beers and just respect the locals as much as possible. But the Latvians are they're peaceful, calm people. So there's not this nasty culture of what you might get from other European cities.
What we're lining our stomachs with? What's the food of choice there?
What? Oh, right. So carbonara, this kind of like this pork kind of. It's not quite steak, but bit of a pork loin with kind of cheese and chips and everything like that. That's quite unique. They love their kefir, so they have it's not quite. It's more of a summer thing, but they have cold beetroot soup, which is beetroot and kefir.
Right,
that's a little bit alternative. And then if you're drinking lots, make sure you get this kind of like this garlic bread, this sort of rye bread that's made in garlic. So it's a hardy northern food that keeps people warmer in the winter. During these cold winters. But yeah, there's a few interesting foods, and of course Central Market. If you go to the Central Market, it's the largest central market in Europe. There's some massive. They're formerly Zeppelin hangars from the Germans. The Germans built these huge Zeppelin hangars. Yeah, and they were transformed into markets, and you can find plenty of food there. But there's some incredible food markets as well. Argenskans Market is beautiful, and you've got the old the big park not far from there. Victory Monument. There's a Ferris wheel, but there was a former made the news. There was a former Soviet Union sort of war memorial, huge kind of obelisk kind of monument, but they knocked that down. But that's a great park as well. Okay. But I imagine most England fans will be found in Old Town, going from bar to bar to bar. Yeah.
Well, you say that you live next to a ground, but it's not the ground that the game is going to be played at.
No.
So how far?
So I live near Skonto, Riga, and the Skonto stadiums. Yeah.
So no.
So the game will be played at the Daugava Stadions, which is a slightly bigger stadium. I believe about 10,000. They basically having a few problems trying to build a national stadium. Think sort of Wembley on a smaller scale, I guess. But yeah, it's about a 4 or 5 kilometer walk from Old Town, and fans like Ajax or whatever turn up, and they typically make the walk from Old Town to the Daugava Stadium, basically. But it's an interesting one. It's actually quite a tricky stadium because you've got these running tracks around it. You've got a railway track that goes around it as well. It was built in 1927. It's been redeveloped a little bit, but yeah, Latvia seriously need a national stadium more than anything.
Is that something that is on the cards, or are their priorities sort of elsewhere sports wise?
It's on the cards. It's been on the cards. They're discussing it a lot. It might happen. It might not happen. It's a constant debate within the football community, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Yeah. But the Skonto Stadium is always worth going to if you happen to be in Latvia and watching Riga FC. But also RFS, the second club, they were the best club in Latvia, and they did really well in the Europa League, getting results against Galatasaray, as I mentioned, Ajax, and Lech, and so on. They're building from scratch, so you slowly start seeing new stands popping up.
Right.
By an engineering firm, so they're quite an interesting one. But yeah, that's also a beautiful stadium, kind of right on the river. It's really picturesque. In autumn, you see all the birds migrating because there's lots of birds like storks and geese and so on who migrate along the river. So you're watching the football and you see all these birds. Certain time of year, it's quite special.
Not dropping on the pitch, are they?
Not quite, no, because they follow they seem to follow the Daugava River.
I would say logical.
Yeah, it's like a highway for birds. But yeah, there's lots of nature here.
So tell us, obviously the podcast is about the Baltic teams. Tell us a little bit about the Latvian football culture.
Okay, so the Virslīga it's emerging, it's growing. It has the youngest players. It's the youngest league for players in Europe, I believe, if not the world. It's right up there in terms of youth players trying to break through. I think recent significant success includes Toulouse, who's just gone to Wolverhampton.
Right,
he was a 24 million signing, but it's an entry level league for players that are looking to progress their careers typically. So you've had a lot of players that enter that league, whether they're coming from various clubs, whether Barcelona B teams or the players that haven't quite managed to break into the teams and they sign for the Versliga clubs and then they manage to get minutes, and it's quite an intense league. So it starts on artificial pitch because the winters are quite difficult, and then it transitions into grass.
Okay.
It's 10 teams, and they typically play 3 games. There's 3 fixtures between the teams, so it's full on. I know. I did an interview recently with there's a Londoner playing in Daugavpils, which is the second biggest city, not far from the Russian borders. It's in a beautiful area, Latgala, just lakes, endless lakes, and forests. But yeah, he said he's a bit of a journeyman, and he said, this is the best league for actually getting minutes, and it's just game after game, and you're constantly improving as a result, because you just don't typically get so many games and so many minutes. But it's an exciting league because you get to see some really good prosperous players, and Latvian football is interesting. It's not as physical as intense, but they have good technical players, and they've got build-up play, and they're quite sophisticated in how they approach the game. But there's not the the kick around, and like if you look at British culture and football, you just don't quite get that regular. There's a pitch everywhere, and whether it's just football in school or whatever. Yeah, the culture still needs to build, but there's definitely an appetite for football here, and it's growing. It's starting to improve, and it went through a bit of a sort of wilderness period after, I guess, Skonto FC. The league's it's still maturing, and it's only been around properly since, I guess, 92 or something. So there's been a few teams gone bust, and it's an emerging model. But the recent model that's starting to appear is this sort of player development and trading area, because attendances aren't that high either. So it's figuring out what's the best way for business. But it's a good fun league, and you get a lot of Brits turning up to Riga, and you hear them in the Skonto and stuff, and you get nice beer on the terrace. Summers are long here, and the days are long, so you can watch a game like 8-9, and it's bright outside, and the sun's coming down, and a couple of beers. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Lovely. Go on, tell us once more about the Baltic Football Podcast, where we can find it.
Oh, so Baltic Football, you can check out our website, www.balticfootballnews.com, if you want to immerse yourself in Lithuanian, Latvian and Estonian football. And of course, we've got a podcast which is on Spotify, Baltic Football Podcast, and a YouTube channel as well. But yeah, it's good fun, and there's a lot of drama. It's been a great season this year because Riga FC, which have usually been the sort of like not the most favoured team because they throw money at everything, they've made a good lead in the league this season, whereas RFS, former dominant team, had a lot of money from the Europa League, have slipped completely. So yeah, there's lots going on, so you can have a listen on the podcast and hear all about that. And it's the same with the A Liga as well. Vilnius, the capital of Žalgiris, Vilnius, they've kind of slipped up and they're struggling in mid-table, and then you've got Estonia, which is a whole different sort of situation. You've got 2 talent teams, Levadia and Flora. Flora only invest in young youth players, and Levadia go and buy quite a lot. Right. And there's plenty of drama happening in Estonia as well. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about in Baltic football, and there's some really exciting young players that have ended up in some pretty big clubs in Europe as well. So their league's not to be ignored.
Fair enough. Now, I'm going to make an assumption to say that you're going to the England game.
I'll be going to the England game. Yeah, definitely.
Do I dare tempt you with a prediction?
Hopefully the weather will turn and it'll be a bitter cold Baltic night of football in an awkward stadium with running tracks, and not the easiest place to go. Latvia will sit back, make it very difficult, be really, really psychologically fired up and want it. and I will go a 1-0 win for Latvia, just in the name of romance and drama.
I get where you're coming from.
That's what my heart says, but I'm not going to predict the score on what my brain says.
Oh, nice one. Frank, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciated it. Go check out the Baltic Football Podcast.
Thanks so much, Russell, and love your podcast, and it's been great to be on your show.
Thanks for listening. Thanks once again to Frank there for his Latvia input. Go check out the Baltic Football Podcast, also the website as well. Likewise, if you are new to the show, you can follow the show on social media. Just search Three Lions Podcasts on the likes of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's on there too. A like, a follow, a thumbs up. They're all appreciated. And you can contact me through any of those, should you feel the need to. If you want to say hi, if you're up for a chat, or if you've got an idea for the show, always happy to hear from you. Now, if you are going to either game, safe journey, enjoy them. I'll only be at the Wales game, as once again my daughter's birthday falls around the Latvia game. I'm sure we've had home games around there that I've been able to make, but it always seems like there's an away game. Latvia away joins Finland away, joins the nearly abandoned Bulgaria away, joins the Spain away game in the rain in Seville. Had to miss them all. Having kids will be great, they say. I'm only kidding. Don't forget, you can still vote for the show in the Football Content Awards in the Best Podcast International category. Just head to the website footballcontentawards.com if you haven't already. Any vote would be really appreciated. footballcontentawards.com. It's in the Best Podcast section in the International category. Scroll down, find the Three Lions Podcast. Click vote, click submit. Cheers. I will be back with you very soon, hopefully, taking a look at both of these games. I hope you can join me for it. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.